Hi, today's Thursday, March 29th, 2012, and I'd like to talk about the last couple of trading days. What we're currently looking at is the pound dollar. This is the 1-hour chart, and I wanted to talk about how I use my trading system to effectively trade around the news. On Wednesday, March 28th, there was some economic data for the UK that affected the pound dollar, and I was trading the news, and this is how I do it. So what I do is watch the news, and I look to see if I get any signals that print on my charts prior to the news being released. Now, the news that was released was at 4:30 Eastern Time, and that was for the UK. We had their current account and the GDP numbers that were released at the same time. But if one of those techniques doesn't print before the news, then I'm a little more suspicious. I'm a little more cautious with the trade. And just before the news was released, this signal candle printed. So there was a technical trade signal before the news was released in the UK at 4:30 Eastern Time. So what I do is, let me open this up just a little bit so you can see what's going on in here. This is the signal candle, and this closed before the news was released. And then once the news was released, it then gave me my entry, and I entered the trade at the right location. And by doing that, you don't have that tension where you have to jump in at the split moment the news is released. So I entered the trade at 59.25. The stop was 60 points. On the pound dollar, with the breakout trade, we're looking at about 55 to 60, sometimes 65 pips. I use 60 in this trade because I knew support was way down here, much further than just 60 pips, so I was okay. But I don't want to trade more than that. I usually will stick to about 60, maybe 65 pips if price is nearing that target and there's a big news event and I can see that it's going to go a lot further. If I was trading this on the 4-hour chart or the daily chart, entirely different dynamics. I go over that in the ebook course material. With the euro dollar, remember, we're only looking for 55 pips. We use a 55 pip stop and a 55 pip target. So here, 60 pips all the way down here to 65, and 60 pip stop here at 85 approximately. You'll notice that price never approached and went pretty smoothly down here to the target, which is pretty typical, and this also gives you an idea of how many hours it takes for a trade like this to pay. Now I want to review another trade that I took. This was all on the same day. This is the Euro/JPY. Now this was a little bit different. You'll notice that the trade looks different here. What we have is a signal, but no 3-pip entry after the very next candle. Sometimes it'll happen. Remember, every single trade is going to create different situations. The dynamics of the trade or the structure of the trade still has to be there in place. Remember, we know when this trade's going to be canceled, and nothing here signaled that this trade was canceled at this point. So it rolls back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours before we actually get our entry. What I do is set an alarm a few pips, maybe 10 or 15 pips before the entry appears again, so that way I've got enough time to take the trade, and I get in right where I'm supposed to. Once I get in at, which was the actual entry, the 3-pip entry, 110.13, I'm looking at 100 to 150 pips on this trade. Let me move this up just a little bit so you can see what was happening here. 100 to 150 pips, and it also depends on where support is. Well, support is back over here to the left, just a little bit lower than that spike low. You can't see it, I'm sorry. Let's see if we can't bring this in just a little bit. Here's where support is, down here. So I needed to get out before price hits support, so I took a 100-point target. Now I teach you how to do this, exactly what I'm doing here in the ebook, Learn Forex Trading in 30 Days. I get in here at the right location, 110.13. I use a 100 pip target and a 100 pip stop. And here's my pullback after my entry, and price moves right down here. Now this took probably twice as long as the pound dollar trade. But again, nothing changed as far as the structure of this trade for me to worry that this trade wasn't going to pay off. This paid 100 pips. And lastly, I did the same thing on the pound yen. Remember, this one we're looking for 150 to 250 pips as our target on the pound yen. Here's support. So I know I need to get out before support. Here's my signal, and this worked similar to the pound dollar trade. I got my signal, and I got my entry. Now, I don't worry about news on this one. So I entered in at the right location, 131.70. I use a 150 pip target since support was right here, and I needed to get out before support. I could only use a 150 pip target, so I used a 150 pip stop. Here's my entry. It pulls back a little bit, and it took maybe 3 times as long as it did for the pound dollar before it hit its final target of 20. That's 150 pips. Here's my 150 pip stop. But at no point was I ever in any danger of having this trade stopped out, and the structure of the trade remained intact. You'll notice this strong downtrend, lower lows, lower highs, continues until it hits its target. And I close my trade right where I'm supposed to. There's 150 pips on this pair. There was 100 pips on the euro yen, and there was 60 pips on the pound dollar. Remember, you can't do this every day, and sometimes these trades will pay a lot sooner, and sometimes they take about as long as what you see here. Every trade is different, and I teach you how to do that in the Learn Forex Trading in 30 days. I also show you how to apply these strategies and trade right around the news. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you're starting to see some of these patterns. Remember, you can do this, and I'm available in the private Facebook group, so you can chat with me if you've got questions. And if you're there and I'm there in the private Facebook group, when a trade is taking place, I'll help you. I'll walk you through the trade, and I'll help you for as long as I have time to get you through the trade so that you can make the same number of pips that I'm making on these trades. Thanks for watching.